This is the inside of one of the slave cabins. And these places were lived in up to the 1990s. Believe it or not. Not as slave cabins, obviously. This is the inside of it. And about 14 people will live in this one building. About 14 people will live in this one building. At least it has a fireplace. There's no, the locks on the doors are the little hooks that you can just pull open. The windows have the same kind of little locks, but there's no security. Somebody want to enter in. Out of the 15 plantations that was here, 14 of them produced mulatto children from the masters or their overseers. "14 people live inside this." If you come outside the slave cabin, this slave cabin right here, there's one slave cabin. Here's another slave cabin I'm standing in front of. 10 by 12, y'all. 10 by 12, and up to 14 people would live in this. 14 people. Up to 14 people would live inside a 10 by 12 house. And if you came out the door and you step out, you would see more slave cabins, and then you see the big house way at the end. This was the main road right here. Well, if you come out, you turn to the right, you look straight down, you can see that there's a shopping center. His property, the old master property, went past the shopping center. 1,400 acres. No, 17, I'm sorry, 1,700 acres. 1,700 acres. And then if you came out, you walked a little further. This was the main road right here. So, and look how beautiful, like now, the main road looks. Because the main road was lined with these trees. These trees are hundreds of years old. These live oak trees, what they call them. And he would line the main road down to the master's house with these trees. And you walk down there, and then you get eventually to the master's house. And if you came out and you just walked out your front door and you looked, you would look out into the cotton fields. Cotton fields. And we're looking at about 200 to 300 yards of cotton fields, but they went down about 4 or 5 miles, he said, down. The field went all the way down about 4 or 5 miles to the ocean, to the waterfront, because they used up everything. Oh man, this is crazy. Bye, my peoples. Y'all put y'all's time in. Y'all made it happen. Thank you for your strength. Thank you for your determination. Thank you for your willingness to survive. Thank you for your ingenuity. Because it was their skill and knowledge, my African ancestors, their skill and knowledge that made Cotton King. And this wasn't just Cotton King. Here, Charleston was the richest country, the richest city in America. And it rivaled London and all those cities in Europe. And the cotton that they grew here was called Sea Island cotton. And it's because the Africans grew it, and they took the skills of their growing skills in Africa. And when they came here, they went down to the river and grabbed what's called dirty mud or thick mud or something like that, which was seaweed, dead seaweed and stuff like that. And they mixed it in with the soil. And that made the cotton. Cotton normally grew about knee high. When they Africans applied their technique, it made the cotton grow 10 to 12 feet high. Something, man. Look at this. Look at the fields. Imagine waking up and just seeing people just laboring out there, just laboring. Oh, man. I'm walking my way to the big house. We're on our way to the big house. On our way to the big house, you see And there was more slave homes than these, because they had over 90 slaves on the plantation. So these are not all the slave homes, these are just the ones that got preserved. And more than likely, some of these were the slave homes. The ones that really were able to be preserved were the ones that were built for the house Negroes. The ones for the field Negroes were, of course, kept in worse shape because the master had less interest in them. The house Negro, for the most part, were most of the time mulattoes, and they were children on this plantation anyway, of the master, because he had no overseers. So every mulatto child, everybody knew, it was accepted that it was a child of McLeod, the enslaver, the planter, if you will. And so here's the big house we're coming upon. And if you look to the left of the big house, you see two homes, two little houses. The first one is the kitchen, which we're going to walk over to. And behind the kitchen is the milk house. And so the kitchen was separate. He eventually built on. I didn't know this in the 1800s during slavery time. They found a way to generate money. They put their homes opened it up to tourists. In the 1800s during slavery, they would build columns. They had antebellum columns brought in. They would lay cement, build porches and everything. And so they would open up their property so people could come and view the master's house, the big house. So the back of the house became the house that people came to see. And so the kitchen was built on separately because they didn't want the house to burn down. But eventually he built the kitchen onto his house, which was like, oh my God, that's money to have a detached kitchen. And so we're going to see that when we walk into the big house. But this right here we're walking upon is the kitchen before they built the big house. And they still used it. This is where they did the cooking. Wow, kind of crazy. Behind that, I'm just gonna get a glimpse of it anyway. It's the dairy house. They called it the dairy house. That's where they would store the dairy, the milk, and all that kind of stuff. This tree, I'm talking about this tree right here. This is the tree that sits in his yard. This tree would have been, if you came down the main road, this is where you would stop. I'll show you a picture of the main road again, how it looks. It's really beautiful with the live oak trees that lined his main road. So this was the main road to the house. And remember, it went 3 miles down that way. It was a long entrance to his house. And that's how it looked. And then when you got to the end, you came upon this tree. And this tree is 300 years old. And it is humongous. That's the tree. Look how humongous. Like, you really can't tell how big the tree is. It's just, you're not going to really catch it with this phone, with the camera. But I just can't explain to you how big this tree is. It would take about at least 10 people to wrap around just the base of the tree, holding hands, about 10 people. Look at the fields again. And then you're looking out at the cotton fields. So he didn't need overseers. You know, he could sit on his front porch, watch everything. I want to get a shot of the front of the house. This is that tree again that I was telling you about that you see. Look how big that tree is. Look how big the tree is. Just look how big the tree is. The tree extends about a good, it's about a good 50 yards. The whole tree just laid out with all the branches and everything. So this is coming in from the main road. So I would be standing in the cotton fields, picking cotton. And I would look up and I'd see master coming in from business or whatever, driving up, passing by the slave homes, coming up to his big house. We go check out this big house. It's the master's house. This is the beginning of the master's house. And you know what I just noticed? We're gonna see it, but look at these trees. Look at the craziness of these trees. These trees are hundreds of years old. But if you could see in the back, we're gonna walk over there. But this is the master's house. We're gonna be walking to the master's house. Mr. McLeod. Mr. McLeod's home. And he was considered, he had a cash flow, substantial cash flow, but he was not considered the wealthiest of Charleston, South Carolina, because he lived here. The extreme wealthy of Charles Carolina lived in the place that's called the, what's it called, Dawn? Where the extreme live? The extreme rich people live? The Ballister area of Charleston, South Carolina. It's like all just palatial homes. We're gonna go check that out. But all the rich, like the sloppy rich, they just, today they would be billionaires, stuff like that. That's where they lived. All right, we're walking up the steps. Man, imagine walking up the steps here. Sit right here. Say if you sit in this rocking chair, you can look out to the field and look at your people working your crops. You got more rocking chairs here. If you sit down, you can see the main road. I'm going to walk over to the edge to see how they would have saw the main road. This is right down the line. Is the main road. Right straight down there. That's the main road. And that went 3 miles down. That's his property. The main road to his property to get to his house on his property is 3 miles. All right, we're going inside the house. Wow, the area upstairs is closed. I don't know why, but can't go upstairs, it's closed. So I'm just gonna walk to the steps and just see. Do not enter, sir. I don't know what's going on upstairs, but the area is closed. But let's go back. Here's the front door. Come in the front door. I'm just gonna turn right at the front door. Fireplace. Look at this. Fireplace. With the chandeliers. Look at another room. Another room, fireplace. This is the kitchen that he had added onto the house in the 1800s. They got modern aperture furniture and stuff like that in here now, but back then, this would have been the kitchen. Third is the kitchen. Here's the porch off the kitchen. You can look out in the kitchen and see the fields. Make sure they're doing their work. It's like the back door. Back out to the living room, go to the main door. Now we're going to turn. We're going to go left if you ever came in the main door. We're going left. Wow, each room has a fireplace. Look at that mirror. the next room. Each room had a fireplace. I mean, come on. And then, of course, there's upstairs. But like I said, we can't go upstairs, but I'm pretty sure all the bedrooms are upstairs. This would be the back of the house, the back porch that he had built. Do you know how many bedrooms are upstairs?
4.
4 bedrooms upstairs?
The exact same room that you have downstairs.
It's the same 4 upstairs.
Have it.
And does each room upstairs have a fireplace as well?
Wow. There is a total of 8 fireplaces in here. Yeah.
Ooh. And
That's why on the 3rd floor.
Oh, there's a 3rd floor too? Oh, yes.
Well, there is a 3rd floor where the help and the Confederate soldiers stayed.
Oh.
And in the middle of the 3rd floor, which is not as large as the 1st and 2nd, you have a big wall all around for all 8 fireplaces.
Wow.
You know, the chimneys.
Yeah, the chimneys.
To go up.
Wow. And so the help and the Confederate Army stayed on the 3rd floor? Interesting. And this is the cotton.
Yeah, because in South Carolina, we have no basement.
Oh, okay, right, because it's a low
too
country.
close to the water.
Right, makes sense. And so this is the cotton with the seeds in it?
This is it, yeah. That's the unclean one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, seeds, a lot of seeds in here.
Yeah.
So they would have to process this in the cotton gin.
Yeah, and to begin with, it would have to be done. See, there it is. We try to pull them out every so often, but look how much. You see how they're attached to the fibers?
That's a hard, man. So before the gin, all this had to be done by hand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely, yep.
Oh my
And this is when it's cleaned up. Feel it.
Oh,
it feels like silk, doesn't it?
It does. And this is Sea Island cotton?
This is the Sea Island cotton, and let me show you something here.
Wow, that feels so good.
This is Tom Ford, the couturier.
Tom Ford.
He had this shirt. Look at the price.
$990 for just the one shirt?
You know what? They didn't give it to me, okay? Yes, made out of that Sea Island cotton. And this here, this one was a little cheaper, $315. But it tells you, see, in Egypt they produced 74,000 bales. The same cotton, and in Barbados.
Wow. And now Egyptian cotton is. Now Egyptian cotton.
This cotton is.
This amazes me.
This cotton is more is longer fiber and much more refined than the Pima cotton from Peru.
Oh, okay.
You know, which is already priced, which is good, but not quite as much as this one is.
Wow. And so the cotton trees, they grew here on this plantation at least 10 to 12 feet tall?
They're very tall, yeah, because we grow some in the back every year, and I took a picture of myself. Well, I'm not terribly tall, but those plants were way above me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are there some out there now, or they're not? It's not the season for
I
them?
don't think there's much. I don't know if they took them out or not. Let me see. Did you go in the back?
Yes, I did.
No, they took it all out.
They took it all out?
Yeah, because
that's where the dirt mounds are?
Where the dirt is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They'll grow some more in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I see there's some homes over here. One of those is the cotton gin.
Yes.
How about the other ones that's over there that look real old and beat down?
They were dependencies. They were like the garage. They were all different things that they use for keeping their stuff in it. Their machines, that thing.
Wow. Wow. So interesting. So interesting.
It is. Did you take the tour yet?
I did take the tour.
You enjoy it?
I did. I enjoyed it so much. And thank you for helping to be a part of this to help keep it preserved.
I think it was long overdue. And I think it's a good thing that it's finally in the open and talking. I'm also very interested in the history of natives.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that one day they will open up about them too.
Oh, beautiful.
South Carolina had over 40 tribes before the European arrived.
Wow, 40 tribes.
Guess how many we have left now?
3? Jeez.
And not big ones either.
Right.
You know, the Trail of Tears
Yes.
killed
Right.
everybody.
Killed it all.
So history is not always fun, okay?
Right.
But it needs to be known,
Absolutely.
and we should learn from it.
Right.
Do we? I'm not sure. But,
Right.
It really should be taught, and it should be learned. And it's interesting because we have some people that come over here, and because I grew up in France, and they complain to
Oh,
me.
bonjour.
Yeah, they complain to me for what the tour is about because they're not.
Right. Yes.
It is what it is.
How do you pronounce your name?
Magali.
Magali. Beautiful name. Thank you,
Thank you.
Magali, so much for your
So
help.
where are you visiting from?
New Jersey, state of New Jersey. But my wife, her mother is from a Gullah Geechee family from
Okay. Yeah, well,
from
John
Buford.
was the tour here.
Yes. He was our tour
He is
guide.
from Buford. He was
Yeah,
yours?
so we were talking
so
to
he told
him.
You he was from
Yes.
Buford too?
He says that he has
Yeah.
people with my wife's family surname in his
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Yes.
His one daughter lives across the street from me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This is coming out of the back of the house. Well, first, let me show you the back of the house again. So this is that back. This is the back of the house. This is the back of the house, bro. Palatial, right? This is his backyard from the house. Here's the house, and this is the backyard. This is his backyard. Now, mind you, all of what I'm showing you, when we were in the front, and I showed you, not including the shopping center, and including up to the tree line, where I showed you the fields. Because remember, beyond the tree line, it went to where the water was, and here it just stops at that gate. So all that is just 40 acres. The plantation was 1,700 acres big. Sits on an island, and it went from one end of the island to the other end of the island.